Here at the scene. The other is now in the hospital. Police had to call in a helicopter to take that second person away. We've asked how long this investigation is going to go on. At this point, they're not giving us a time frame on that, but they're just telling me they're just trying to figure out exactly what happened here in this crash. And then as soon as they do that, they will reopen this part of the road. Reporting live from Nassau County, Erica Byfield, News 4, New York.
Okay, Erica, thank you so much. Now to a wild scene this morning as a gunman opened fire, sending bullets flying across Brooklyn streets. Several of those rounds struck a nearby school bus. You're taking a look at surveillance video of stunned passengers who are going to step off of this city bus. Those passengers thought the bus blew a tire, but turns out one bullet went through the door. Another bullet hit a school bus with the driver, a matron, and a 4-year-old child on board. None of the people on the buses were hurt, but 32-year-old Francisco Bonilla was shot and killed.
He had a daughter recently. That's just incredible. The one person that you would at least think. I spoke to him a couple of days ago, and he was thrilled at the fact that he just had a daughter.
Now, police now scouring the area for any evidence. There are several cameras in the area, and we are also told there is video of the gunman who was still on the loose.
Political and inappropriate. That is how aides describe what they heard while listening to that now infamous July phone call between President Trump and Ukraine's president. A decorated war veteran and an aide to Vice President Mike Pence were the first witnesses to testify in today's public impeachment hearings. Testimony continued within the last 40 minutes, with former U.S. envoy Kurt Volker and former NSC staffer Tim Morrison testifying. News 4's Andrew Siff joining us in the newsroom, tracking the latest developments. These hearings still going on, Andrew.
That's right, Stefan, and wearing a uniform and insisting that Republican questioners call him by his proper rank. Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, born in the Ukraine, but arrived here when he was only 3 years old, grew up in Brooklyn, in fact. Today, a key witness in the impeachment inquiry. More on that in a moment. But first, as you indicated, as we speak, former Special Envoy Kurt Volker testifying.
At no time was I aware of or knowingly took part in an effort to urge Ukraine to investigate former Vice President Biden. As you know from the extensive real-time documentation I have provided, Vice President Biden was not a topic of our discussions. I was not on the July 25th phone call between President Trump and President Zelensky. I was not made aware of any reference to Vice President Biden or his son by President Trump until the transcript of that call was released on September 25th, 2019.
Nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Two witnesses actually on that July 25th phone call, not comfortable about the conversation between President Trump and President Zelensky. Vice presidential staffer Jennifer Williams.
I found the July 25th phone call unusual because, in contrast to other presidential calls I had observed, it involved discussion of what appeared to be a domestic political matter.
And Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman.
What was your real-time reaction to hearing that call?
I had concerns, and it was my duty to report my concerns to the proper people in the chain of command.
Republicans pushed back, insisting President Trump's request that Zelensky investigate Joe and Hunter Biden wasn't extortion or bribery, but instead an appropriate ask.
My constituents in New York 21 have many concerns about the fact that Hunter Biden, the son of the vice president, sat on the board of a corrupt company like Burisma.
And in questioning Vindman.
Mr. Vindman.
Ranking member, it's Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, please.
Lawmakers tried to undermine a Purple Heart recipient in uniform, implying he gave information to the media.
Colonel, you never leaked information?
I never did, never would. That is preposterous.
And in an emotional moment, Vindman said he reassured his family not to worry about his testimony.
Why do you have confidence that you can do that?
Because this is America. This is the country I've served and defended, that all of my brothers have served, and here, right matters.
Thank you, sir. Yield back.
Meanwhile, at his cabinet meeting today, the president said he wasn't bothered by Vindman's testimony.
I understand somebody had the misfortune of calling him Mr., and he corrected them. I never saw the man. I understand now he wears his uniform when he goes in. No, I don't know Vindman at all. What I do know is that even he said that the transcript was correct.
And still ongoing this afternoon, the two witnesses, former U.S. envoy Kurt Volker and Tim Morrison. He's the former national security staffer who has said that Ambassador Gordon Sondland told Ukrainians that the only way to unfreeze their frozen military aid was to investigate the Democrats. Sondland is set to testify tomorrow. Back to you, Steph.
Okay, Andrew Sif covering all of the day's events in Washington. Thank you very much. New at 4, the House actually just passed a temporary spending bill to keep the government running for another few weeks. This would fund the government at current levels through December 20th. Congress actually has a deadline of November 21st to avoid a government shutdown. The House bill will now head to the Senate.
Let's get a first check of our weather on this Tuesday afternoon. Storm Team 4's Dave Price is in the Weather Center. Dave?
All right, things looking not bad at all as we take a look at cloudy skies over Midtown Manhattan at this hour. We've got 46 on the thermometer, winds out of the northwest at 8. Knock about 4 degrees off between the way it seems on the thermometer and how it feels to the skin when you walk outside. 37 in Chile and Monticello, not too different as we head to Kingston. 44 in East Hampton, and we're up in the upper 40s as we head down to the Jersey Shore. Taking a look at the hour-by-hour forecast rolling into tonight, you may see a couple of drops of rain out on the east end of Long Island during the overnight. Elsewhere, it's going to be at the freezing mark or below to the north and west, and we'll be at about 40 degrees tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. in the city. Keep in mind a cold start to the day, but as we head through the day, watch, we do see a little bit of clearing out there, and the temperature does push its way up. That's 3 o'clock tomorrow. That's what we're looking at as we head to the midweek. What's the rest of the week look like? We do have some developments to talk about, and it looks like there's some rain in our forecast. We'll track it and time it all out when we see you in just a few. Rana.
Okay, we'll see you then. Thanks, Dave. New York is stepping up its fight against the vaping epidemic by slapping e-cigarette maker Juul with a lawsuit. The state's top attorney, Letitia James, filed a sweeping lawsuit on behalf of all New York kids today. She claims the company took a page from Big Tobacco's book by glamorizing vaping with flashy ads that targeted teenagers while downplaying the risks.
Juul basically took a page from Big Tobacco's playbook by marketing its products in a manner that was appealing to underage youth.
James says the death of a 17-year-old in the Bronx, which was related to vaping, convinced her to file suit. Juul was sued by the state of California yesterday and North Carolina back in May. Several other states say they are investigating the company.
A new federal spending bill includes access to funding for the families of 9/11 victims. The measure has bipartisan support. If it's passed, it'll allow 9/11 widows and children to access the U.S. Victims of State-Sponsored Terrorism Fund. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer praised the families and their fight for these funds that they didn't have access to beforehand. Senator Schumer said the bill will help all families of terror attack victims here in the United States and overseas.
So for the first time, we can say, if you lost your loved one in the fight against terrorism, the United States is going to stand behind you and help you.
The measure also reopens the application period for new claims and extends the fund until 2030.
In Southern California, the last teenager hospitalized in the deadly shooting at Saugus High School is now back home. Doctors say the 15-year-old girl is in good spirits as she recovers. She was one of 3 teens who were wounded when another student opened fire on his 16th birthday. He then took his own life. 2 other students were killed, a 15-year-old girl and a 14-year-old boy. Police are still searching for a motive.
And we are getting some new information on another deadly shooting, this one outside of a Walmart in Oklahoma. Police now saying that 2 people were killed in what they describe as a love triangle. Investigators say a man confronted his ex-girlfriend and another man in the parking lot of that Walmart, then shot them through the windshield of a car. He later turned the gun on himself. No one else was hurt.
We're a little more than a day away from the next Democratic presidential debate, and this time around there will be 10 candidates, with former Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Elizabeth Warren splitting center stage. They'll be flanked by Senator Bernie Sanders and a surging South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg. Journalists from MSNBC and The Washington Post are moderating tomorrow night's debate. And our government affairs reporter Melissa Russo is on her way to Atlanta right now. Her reports will begin tonight on News 4 at 11, and we will check in with Melissa live from Atlanta tomorrow afternoon right here on News 4 at 4.
Let's tell you about a wild robbery in Brooklyn. Police say 2 young women got violent at a deli, all because of e-cigarettes. You see the video here. Cops tell us the bodega workers saw one of the women trying to steal. We're told he then confronted her, and then they started fighting. Police say she tried to jump over the counter and snatched those vaping devices. You saw it right there. This happened near Kings Highway and Ocean Avenue last week. The worker wasn't seriously hurt. Those 2 girls are still on the run. Now to a call for justice for all vendors in New York City.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
Several vendors and a group of community activists making this plea this afternoon in Harlem. It's the same spot where Byron Shark was pinned down and arrested, accused of illegally selling candy on a subway platform. Last week's incident coming after 2 unlicensed churro vendors were removed from subway stations in Brooklyn and issued summonses. Critics saying this is all over-policing in the subways.
We won't rest until we get justice, until we get respect for all vendors, even people that are just riding the train as regular pedestrians. We just want respect. We want to be treated rightfully.
The activists say the NYPD is too strictly enforcing laws that aren't essential, and they want cops to focus their efforts elsewhere.
Mayor de Blasio signed a massive redesign of city streets today. The sweeping agenda is known as the Streets Master Plan, and it favors buses and bikes over cars. It will require the city to build 250 miles of protected bike lanes and 150 miles of protected bus lanes, plus bus stop upgrades and better pedestrian crossing signals. The bill also includes a crackdown on bad drivers, and it requires the city to issue a transportation master plan every 5 years.
Granny, it's hard to believe. Yes, it's already that time of year again, but we're just a little more than a week away from the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And today, we got a sneak peek at the 5 newest floats that are going to make their debut as they roll down the famed parade route in Manhattan near Central Park this year. News 4's John Chandler giving us an up-close look at today's Macy's Parade Studio in Moonachie, New Jersey.
I feel like I'm actually standing in the middle of something that my kids built that's sitting on my dining room table right now. But in reality, this is much, much bigger. This is Brick Changer from Legos, one of 5 new floats at this year's Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
This is the dream. Building giant, larger-than-life floats that look like Lego bricks? Yes.
There are 26 floats in this 93rd Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. But to creative director Rick Palmer, none are quite like Lego's Brick Changer. Part turkey, part dragon. I look at this and I feel like it's something that's sitting on my dining room table right now that my kids worked all day to put together and are so proud of.
Absolutely what we were going for. It's about the single bricks and creativity and imagination. And what would a child come up with? A turkey dragon.
And the children approve.
I think it took a lot of effort because to get all these details and all this stuff on the float.
These are 4th graders from PS 108 in East Harlem. Do you think you could make that yourself?
No, that would take too much work for me.
It's about 8 months of work, actually, but Parade executive producer Susan Tercero hopes these 5 new floats become just as much a part of Thanksgiving Day tradition as the old ones. How does a new float make the cut?
You know, we really think about what is it that America is trying to see in this parade. We want to do something that speaks to everybody.
If this was made of real Legos, it would be made up of over 2,000 different Lego elements. And just think of how many little tiny Lego pieces, tens of thousands it would take to actually make this float. As it stands, it'll make its debut to over 50 million people this Thanksgiving. In Moonachie, New Jersey, I'm John Chandler, News 4 New York.
Oh, look like fun. Very cool. If you don't want to brave the cold or the crowds Thanksgiving morning, we don't blame you. We've got your front row ticket to all the excitement right here. You can watch the 2019 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade on NBC4. It's all going to kick off at 9 a.m.
Yeah, braving the cold and hopefully not the rain.
Oh, yeah.
We shall see.
Uh-oh.
Nice to see everybody. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. But first, let's talk about the here and now and what we can expect over the next couple of days, shall we? Let's walk on over to the weather wall together and see what's happening and talk about what we are actually watching over the next few days. So cool and dry finish to the week, but showers arrive late on Friday, and it looks like the weekend is not going to be great. Certainly a sloppy Sunday thanks to another storm that's developing. Outside right now, plenty of cloud cover to keep us busy. Rolling into tonight, the clouds stick around for the most part. Winds out of the northwest, 5 to 10 miles per hour. 39 in the city, 31 in Kingston. We'll be at 37 as we head to East Hampton. And looking out to the west, we're in the 30s. Now, rolling into hump day, northwest winds 10 to 15 miles per hour, kicking up just a little bit, but the temperature is moving closer to 50 degrees. Thursday, a real decent day. There's the move into the mid-50s around the region. A couple of 40s popped in there, but all in all, pretty nice shape. Now, what are we looking at here? we're actually looking at all of the water vapor that is going to form the next storm system rolling into our direction. So keep in mind, that is as we roll into the weekend. So two troublemakers. First, let's watch this first low. That begins to move on through. That's the cold front. That's going to bring us some rain. And then another system is going to begin to push on through. And that's that low pressure system that taps into the tropical moisture that rolls our way as we head into Sunday. So Sunday's not looking good at all at this point. Weather forecast for tonight. Could see some light snow far to the north. Again, in some locations, just last night, we got about 3 inches. So just keep in mind some flakes may come your way. Here's the hour by hour as we head to the end of the week. Friday afternoon, we usher in some rain. That's during the 3 o'clock hour, so rush hour is not going to be great, but it's out of the way by the end of rush hour. That's the timing so far. Now, let's take a look at Saturday. 5, 6, 7, 8, it begins to move through. The rain sticks around as we head into the late evening hours to the far north and west. More flakes potentially flying. This is Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Now we're at about noon. Watch to the north and west. Sloppy conditions up there. Moderate to light rain falling in parts of the region. It doesn't look like a pretty day at all. Into 3 o'clock, some of those flakes could begin to sprinkle to the south somewhat. Here's the 10-day forecast. Better weather ahead, but we wait to the beginning of next week to get it. Look at that, 51 on Monday, 55 on Tuesday. Wednesday, 58 degrees and possible rain. Thanksgiving Day at this point looks to be dry and 48 degrees. Rana, we'll zero in on this more as we get a little closer. All right, back to both of you.
All right, we have some time to nail out all the details. Thanks, Dave. He is lovingly referred to as a pawfessor. Meet Professor Spirit. This is Pace University's canine educator. The service dog works alongside a human professor. This is to teach future nurses and healthcare professionals how to properly interact with service dogs and their owners.
So the very first thing that students are learning when they come into the classroom is do not pet. And the reason for not petting is that pettings result in distractions, and distractions can lead to injury of the individual or to the service dog.
Well, service dogs have been known to help people who are blind or who have physical disabilities, but now, of course, they're increasingly helping people with other conditions such as autism, diabetes, and those who experience seizures. So a great lesson.
Right. Just bring dog biscuits for extra credit.
I love it. Yeah.
Office hours. All right.
All right. The second trailer for the film adaptation of Cats dropped today.
It comes after the first trailer lit the internet on fire.
Tonight is a magical night, where I choose the cat that deserves a new life.
This is wild. The first trailer revealing how CGI would be used to turn the actors into human-cat hybrids. The results, were kind of terrifying for many who voiced their terror online, said it was a little too freaky for them. The second trailer seems to be getting a better reception from fans of Cats. You can see it all for yourself when Cats hits theaters on December 20th.
Maybe they made it
Broadway
too
hit.
realistic.
Yeah, that's
all right.
right.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We're going to continue monitoring the impeachment hearings throughout the evening on NBCNewYork.com and on the air on NBC4. And you can join us again right here for a special edition of News 4 at 5. Have a great night.